Morning, Coach.
Good morning, guys.
Started with Ruben and then Dave.
Hey, good morning, Doug. Doug, who's your right guard for Sunday, and how did you come to that decision?
We're still, obviously planning to go forward with Nate Herbig. And he had a great week of practice, and this is 2 weeks back to back now that he's gotten the bulk of the work. So he'll go in as our starter at right guard.
Dave and then Kristen.
Hey, Doug, at the end of Wednesday's press conference, we didn't get a chance to follow up, but you were asked about Carson rolling out, and you kind of said the reason you didn't do more of it was because of the lack of success on first down. So is that the case? And the obvious follow-up to that is, can't you roll him out on first down too?
That's a great question. Yes.
So what happened on Sunday? I mean, why didn't you guys do that?
We hit Dallas fourth play of the game down to the 5-yard line. And play action pass, and we have a lot of, I guess, looking back on it, you could always second guess yourself, I guess. So something that I got to do a better job at, I guess, be more conscious of it.
All right, Kristen and then Les.
Good morning, Doug. Kind of a broad stroke question here, but as you look at this Rams team, where are some of the biggest differences you feel like you're approaching this game plan versus what you saw from them back in 2018?
Well, I think back then, obviously having consistency with the coordinator on defense, this year being a different coordinator, different style, different structure is obviously a different. And there's not a lot of film. There's one game, right? With no preseason games, there's just one game that you go off of, and so it makes it a little more difficult to know exactly, sort of the unknown, right? The unscouted look, so to speak. Personnel-wise, there's some different faces, obviously, on defense. Offensively, for the most part, the same group of guys there. There's some similarities, but at the same time, it's you got to take it for what it's worth. It's a new season, new time. They've changed a little bit in their approach, but they play fast, upbeat, tempo offense that we have to be prepared for. And then obviously we've talked a lot about, Aaron Donald and where he lines up. He's a game wrecker. He's a tremendous football player. A lot of respect for him, and we just got to know where he's at, with this new scheme they're playing.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Les, and then Rob Kessner.
Hi, Doc. With Miles Sanders and Derek Barnett, do you expect a full load for them this week against the Rams? Will you ease them in? What's your outlook on that?
Yeah, I'm optimistic. With both of those players. Obviously, today's a big day, for both of them. Hopefully to get through a Friday practice, and then again we'll see how they bounce back, tomorrow, and then of course Sunday morning. So I'm optimistic that both guys will be available for the game Sunday. Yes.
Rob and then Jeff McClain.
Hey, Doug, I have a question about the game day experience, really two of them. One, your record at home has been so good in your tenure. How much have the fans contributed to that, and what advantage do you lose by not having them? And then secondly, I would imagine you probably look at the big board, the big jumbotron in the link for help with replays since you're on the sideline. Will that still happen on a game day? Is that still going to happen when there's no fans in the stands to see replays?
Well, as you know, the fans don't dictate the outcome of replays.
No,
I know by their reaction. I mean, it sometimes good or bad. It's it seems like they have the outcome already predicted. But even in Washington, being able to see some of the replays, on the board, it's still a little bit of a delay. We still have the coaches booth where we can study the actual replay up there, from the cameras that are in stadium. So that process doesn't change for us. I will say that for us now being at home and coming home this week, not having our fans there, it is an impact. It's an impact to our opponents. It's an impact, from an emotional standpoint. For our players, we feed. I've said this before. You kind of feed off of that energy that our crowd brings, and And walking into the link right before kickoff and seeing the stadium full is an emotion that's really hard to explain, and it's definitely going to be missed on Sunday.
Jeff and then Zach.
Doug, JJ played about 28 snaps of 68, about 40% of the last game. He didn't see a target. I understand you have a lot of mouths to feed, but what do you see his role on offense moving forward? How involved will he be?
Well, he's always involved, and he's going to continue to have targets each and every week. It was unfortunate the touchdown to Zach Ertz was actually targeted to JJ, and the defense defended it, so we had to go somewhere else with the football. That's just what happens, in the course of a play, and we target certain guys, but if that guy's not available, we have to reload and go somewhere else with the football. So he continues to be a part of the game plan. His role will increase, I think, each and every week, and he's done an outstanding job for us. I mean, we've asked him to do some things even in the run game as far as a blocker, and he's really taken on that role, and even on special teams, he's approached everything a lot differently this year, which is positive because he's prideful and he wants to play, and so we're doing everything we can to make sure he's on the field.
Zach and then Tim.
Hey, Doug, 5 years in, I know you don't like to put a timeline on injuries, but with the new IR rules, it seems there's more strategy involved this year in roster management. How is that affecting you in terms of the roster management, and how important is it to know the difference, I guess, between day-to-day and an injury that lasts longer than 3 weeks?
Well, obviously, if it's an injury, any injury situation, I rely on our medical team, right? Our doctors, our trainers, our strength conditioning staff. That sort of kind of leads us into how long a player might miss, right? If it's only a 3-week time, or if it could be longer, right? If it could be the season, it could be 6-8 weeks, whatever that is. But yeah, you're absolutely right with some of the new protocols, some of the new rules in place with roster construction each week. Being able to protect 4 practice squad players, right? I mean, those guys, may or may not be active on game day. I mean, you got 16 available, but those 4 guys, may come up or not. That's an added bonus, I think, for every team. The 3-week IR is obviously a different change, which helps, right? You can move some things around. It's a little different. I rely obviously on Howie and his understanding of those rules, probably more so than myself. I'm focused more on the team and the football side, but yeah, it definitely is week to week that way in roster construction.
Tim and then Mike K.
Doug, how has Carson responded this week? And a second part of that question is, how much do you think about that balance between aggressiveness and recklessness from a play caller perspective of how to kind of help him in that respect?
Carson's doing great, and I think about it on a daily basis.
What kind of things, can you do? Or what is that thought process like?
Well, obviously we're each week is different, right? Each opponent is different. Analytics, statistics, things of that nature with the opponents you play, it shifts. It's not the same every week. Your level of aggressiveness one week could be different the next. It's just the way. It's the way this game goes. And the bottom line is, I have to trust our players, right? I have to trust myself, from an instinct standpoint that, the decisions I make real time, right? Real time are the best for the football team. And, we can obviously, as we know, we can criticize those after the game is over, and I can go back and look at those and say yes or no one way or the other. Was the decision to make a choice or a decision to go for it in a certain situation, was it the right thing to do at the time? I've got to answer those questions moving forward. So those are all things we take a look at.
Go ahead, Mike, and then Chris Franklin.
Doug, you brought up protecting 4 players on the practice squad. I've noticed back-to-back weeks you guys are protected T.Y. McGill and Trevor Williams, two guys that you typically wouldn't be able to put on the practice squad because they're veterans. How much has that kind of benefited the team, being able to get extra looks at those guys who came in late to camp?
I mean, it's beneficial, but there's also rules, with who you can protect and how many times you can protect a player, right? I mean, I think it's 4 times you can protect a player the whole season, and then after that, anybody can sort of poach them, off of your practice roster. So we got to be smart with it. It does allow us to maybe see a player, for that week. It can help on special teams, obviously, if you need a spot there. But you have to be careful because you can only do it for about 25% of your season.
Chris, and then Bo.
Hey, Doug, you mentioned Nate Herbig will be starting at right guard this coming Sunday. When it comes to a guy like Matt Pryor, what sort of things does he have to do in order to improve to become a starting guard in this league?
Well, Matt's done a great job. It's not that he hasn't. I just think it's Nate's opportunity to roll right now. And one of the things that Matt's also doing is he's helping us at the couple of the tackle spots too, with Jordan Mailata and obviously Jack Driscoll, being in there as well. So, he's learning multiple roles and he's done a good job. I just think that at this particular time and where we are, Nate has earned the spot, and so he just has to continue to work each and every day. To get himself better and then put himself in a position to eventually be a starter.
Bo, and then Jamie.
Hey, Doug. Washington had a lot of success blitzing against you guys last week, and I think there's sort of an obvious leap to maybe that was connected to having an inexperienced offensive line. Is that what you expect from the Rams this week? And it's only been one game, but how is their defense different than it was under Wade?
Can I ask you a question?
You want me to give away the game plan again?
No. How do you and this is probably, I'm getting probably off the subject, but when you see teams that blitz and you always imply that it's an offensive line issue, where does that come from?
Well, I'm not saying that is the case, but I'm saying that's the leap that people would make.
But that was the question you asked. You specifically pinned it on the offensive line. That's all I'm asking.
Well, I'm saying that I think that the leap from people is because you have an inexperienced offensive line that defense is blitzed. You can tell me that that's not the case. Maybe it was on the running backs. Maybe it was on the quarterback.
Yeah, I will tell you that. Some of it is on the quarterback. Some of it is on the running backs. Tight ends are in protection. So it's hard to honestly answer the question, and because teams. For instance, Jim Schwartz, right? Take Jim Schwartz, not a big blitz guy, right? And he gets, you guys obviously criticize him openly about not blitzing enough. Well, you got to be careful because if you're going up against a team that, say, a Drew Brees, a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and you want to start blitzing him, you better be able to hold up on the back end, right? Or otherwise you're going to get gashed. I mean, that's part of this process too. And I would say that in game, yeah, if a team is struggling to pick up protections and pick up blitzes, I would expect for that offense to see more in-game pressures, right? I mean, that just makes sense with what we do. But each week, as coaches game plan, D coordinators are different. Some blitz, some don't, and but we still have to be prepared for anything and everything, and prepare our players that way. So, the mistakes we made in the protection last week were a little bit of everybody. It was the back, the receivers, the tight ends, and the quarterback. Everybody had a hand in not only sacks but the protection as well.
So, do you expect the Rams to test you because of that last week?
I think they're going to stick to their game plan. I think they trust their players, and I think I think Coach Staley's going to trust his guys and continue to do what he's done, what he did last week, and probably where he's been, in his career. So, I just think he's going to trust his scheme.
Thank you.
We got time for one more now after that exchange, so we'll go to Jamie.
That's why I love it. I can keep going.
Go ahead, Jamie. Apodi.
Sorry, gentlemen. Coach, what has been your message to the team this week? I'm sure there's a lot of pride at stake when a team gives up a 17-point lead. So what have you been telling them?
Number one, kind of what I told them after the game, I sort of reiterated that earlier in the week. It's just one game. Obviously we're disappointed that we gave up the lead, we lost the game, and all of that. And then it's more about what we do moving forward. And that's been my message, to the guys this week, talking about resiliency a little bit and how we come back after a setback. And we had a minor setback, Sunday, and now how do we respond? And that's the question that every man, in here and in this building has to answer, right? I've got to answer that question for myself, and then obviously for the team, and each player has to do the same. So that's been my message this week to the guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.